Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
It's a Monday, which means we are blessed with the presence of young Joseph. The young Joseph, who I believe laughed at the idea of the Atlanta Braves potentially not making the playoffs. They are in a playoff spot as of today.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a point since our last meeting in which the Atlanta Braves fell out of a playoff spot. Right now, their lead is only a half game over the New York Metropolitans, Joe. Have you changed your tune at all in regards to the Atlanta Braves and their postseason hopes?
Yeah, I mean, they're less confident than I was.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that they are, a half game up right now? And
That's what I just said, yeah.
Playing like crap. Just blew a terrible game to the Rockies.
The Rockies of all teams, Joe.
How's that happen,
How many
Joe?
runs in the eighth? 6?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I turned it off, dude. I was doing something else. And then I looked back at the app. And they definitely lost to the Rockies. They lost 3. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Rockies, in fact. Got embarrassed by the Brew Crew.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a terrible stretch for the Braves. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Yes, the Braves are going to make the playoffs. The Braves are a good team. Don't lose faith, my Braves brethren. But the fucking pitching all of a sudden has just been terrible. I mean, if you look at the stats, it's weird because the Braves, I mean, this is the best offense of all time last year, right? Only team ever with the slugging percentage over 600. This year, since May, they're like one of the bottom 5 offensive. Like, that's been the Braves' problem this year, is that they can't hit as well as they were. But their pitching staff all season, they're the number 2 pitching staff in the league. Maybe not anymore after this stretch, but they all year were number 2 after the Phillies. But since August 3rd, when they started losing, it's just the pitching. I mean, I'm looking it up right here. I think we're 5th in WRC plus since August 3rd, when we've lost like 6 out of 7. It's just our ERA is 8. 8 ERA, Jared.
That's not good, Joe. You know, is this something that, I mean, obviously, like, Ronald Acuna Jr. has nothing to do with the pitching sucking, but has their poor play coincided with Ronnie going down?
Yeah, well, Ronnie went down a long time ago. I would say that would definitely have something to do with it. But they were kind of, I want to say they're not doing that great when Ronnie was playing either. I think the most part, the Braves as a season,
and he wasn't having a Ronnie season.
Exactly. He was struggling, but a lot of the Braves offense has been struggling this year, other than Ozuna from the Braves. Like, it's been a down year for pretty much everybody.
Well, Joe, you talk about their pitching. Max Fried has not been great his last 4 starts, I'd say.
Yeah, his last 2 starts after he got injured. But it could be more than that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he's the guy who was setting. I mean, outside of Chris Sale, right? Chris Sale's the dude who talking Cy Young. Yeah. I mean, he's been fine. Maybe a little bumpy as last time, I think. But for Max Fried, like, he was the dude who was a fucking no hitter, 1 hitter, like, just dominant outing. But the last, looking at this now, the last 4, ERA over 6.5, 6.64. They're hitting 300. They're hitting 310. Things have not been good for Max Fried over his last 4. 20 in the 3rd innings, 15 earned runs.
And you could say that about pretty much any pitcher on the Braves. Like, since August 3rd, this is when the Braves started losing, like, this recent stretch of, like, now we're not in the fucking playoffs. They have a team ERA of 8.49. That's worse in the league by 2 runs. And that's 2 weeks. Oh, that's 8 games. 8 games, not a lot of games, but ERA over 8. That's why they've been shit.
Well, yeah. And so you're talking about a couple turns with Max too there.
Maximilian. And he got hurt. So hopefully that's not why he's being shit or being bad. Ronaldo has been.
Did you just censor yourself?
I don't want to say stuff like that, but
all right, yeah.
It's Monday morning. Ronaldo Lopez needs to come back. I mean, I think what's all Braves all season has been, if we get the offense going, we're going to be just fine. And then they just got the offense going. Austin Riley's been hot. Matt Olson's looking a lot better. Soler's been a beast the past week or so. They've been hitting good. It's just now they can't pitch. So it's a little frustrating, I'll say.
Yeah, Fried's had a couple stinkers. Morton had a stinker. 2 2/3, 8 earned runs. Elder had a stinker, 7 earned runs and 3 2/3. Fried's given up 9 earned and 8 1/3 over his last 2. Holmes,
well, Jared,
8 earned and 9 2/3.
If you go back over the last 15 days, this is what those numbers look like. In 3 starts for Grant Holmes, ERA 5.52. Schwellenbach has been the best performer over his last 2 starts, 3.46 ERA. Sale right behind him, 3.48. But then Max Fried tickling a 10. 9.72 ERA over his last 2 starts, and the last 2 for Bryce Elder, 7.20. Throw Chuck Morton in there. His last 2 starts, 8.31 ERA.
Go back even further. Go to July 1st. Max Fried, a 664. Elder, a 765. Holmes, 450. Yeah, this is it's not good. It's been the Chris Sale and Schwellenbach show for the Atlanta Braves.
He's a god.
But
254
you know what,
has
Joe?
been better than Sale since July 1st. 6 starts each.
And look, if you're starting to click
click
offensively, Joe, there's nothing to say that doesn't happen for you on the pitching side as well. So it's a couple bad turns through the rotation for a few guys. And if they start to get themselves right and you have your offense that is starting to reemerge as a tough ticket item, then feel like the Braves, because Jay, what are their projections? I know they weren't. Were they one of the teams that you highlighted as far as a big change in trajectory over the season? They're 60-something%,
they're
50,
they're still
high
hanging
50s?
tough. They're at 61%, 61.8 as of recording on Monday.
Okay.
So that's obviously gone down considerably from where it was a couple of weeks ago, but no real change like over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, we're at 99%.
But you know what? You know what I like? You know what I like about the deadline and where it sets in the season and in the month of July. You don't get anything done here. You know that this is your group from here on out, and now you got to ride. So it almost gives you enough time where if you stumble out of the gate after the deadline, you have to step back and go, all right, how are we going to regroup? How are we going to attack this moving forward? Because there are no other external reinforcements coming. If we're going to get to where we want to be, it's going to be the help that we've already seen, or maybe there's some help knocking on the door down on the farm that we're going to be able to pull up and plug in. But if that's not the case, who we have right here, right now is who we're going to have to move forward with. And I'd like to think that with the Braves and the veteran leadership, the veteran stewardship that they have all throughout that clubhouse, they'll be able to sort of quiet the noise and just get everybody on the same page mentally. Hey, we go out and we pitch. We're starting to click offensively. We can put this thing together and we can get into October. If we're getting into October how we want, well, that's gonna remain to be seen. The division, So you're gonna have to come correct once that first series starts.
The only thing I'll add, as it relates to, you guys covered the pitching, obviously, as it relates to the lineup, I feel like they're not even necessarily by you guys, but like I feel like there's this general idea that like we're just waiting for some semblance of the Braves 23 offense to return to form, because as Joey noted, it was a historically great offense last season. But the practical reality is that we're really talking about a fundamentally different, obviously different results, but a different cast of characters at this point. Like, yes, there are a few constants. Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson, Orlando Arcia, and Sean Murphy are constants. That's 5 people from last season, right? What's that?
You say
but Albies is out.
Hurt, but
yeah,
but he's still like checked in for a majority of the season and hasn't been the same
but I'm
guy
talking
either.
For sure, but like I'm talking about like expectations for the final 6 weeks or 7 weeks of the regular season. Like Albies and Acuna, as you guys with Acuna, they're not coming back for the rest of the regular season. They don't matter really. I mean, maybe Acuna or Albies comes back at the very end, but like they're not coming back. You have Whit Merrifield, Ramon Laureano, Kelnick, like Adam Duvall, different people playing non-trivial roles for this team now that didn't play those roles last season. And by and large, the people that I just named are not particularly good or haven't been very good this season. Kelnick's been maybe better than he was, but Jared Kelnick is not a great or very good player. So like, yes, maybe they have been better over the last 2 weeks than they were in the prior 2 weeks or prior couple of months. But like, I just think that expectations for this particular offense moving forward need to be muted relative to what expectations were. And it's like, I don't know.
Did you say Rosario too, Jay?
Yeah, and Eddie Rosario got a lot of and Michael Harris. Like, I know Michael Harris is expected to come back, but Michael Harris also provided an 800 plus OPS last season, whereas this season, when he was healthy, very briefly, he was terrible and then hasn't been available. What are we getting when we get Michael Harris back? I just think like it's a different mix of players, and arguably you're missing or have missed what 4 of your 7 or 6 most important players for large chunks of the season. So
yeah, almost 2/3 of your lineup. We talked about what the pitching looked like over the last 2 weeks. Let's take a look at what the hitting has looked like really over the last 2 weeks for the Atlanta Braves. Outside of Austin Riley and Orlando Arcia, I mean, sure, Matt Olson has provided the power. You talked about the power from Soler as well, Joe. But some of those names that you mentioned, Jay, the ones that we just went over, Rosario, 120. Whit Merrifield, your leader in the clubhouse as far as new arrivals and productivity is concerned, hitting 258. But Duvall, 042. Laureano.
Dallas, were you here for the conversation about Whit's nail? Like, remember when he got like hit with that ball in batting practice or whatever it was?
Yeah, his fingernail.
Yeah, and I don't think he was here. So it sounded really bad, and I was like, I'm gonna text him right now and ask to see a picture of it. Immediately sent back a picture. They stitched hit like through the nail, like it's the gnarliest. Like, and he was like, yeah, I want to play tomorrow. They literally, I don't know how the fuck they did this. Like, you know how like you get like a cut and they just like stitch it up or whatever. Like they fucking stitched through they stitched his nail to his goddamn finger. It was disgusting.
I
for him to even
done.
hit a baseball period is crazy.
On my, I mean, I was a kid. I was not in the big leagues. Very, very different.
Yeah, no, dude. I would be like, dude, just fucking rip the nail off at this point. Stitch it to my finger. Get the fuck out of here. That's crazy.
Come on, I love that. But you know what? And look, a complete aside, that's the kind of shit you get a veteran player for.
Yeah.
You don't know he's going to get drilled. You don't know he's going to need something like that just to like maybe be on the field. But what you do know is that he comes with that sort of mentality. And you want that to permeate in this point of the season. Like, oh, we're all going to be banged up. We're all going to have our little nicks and dings, and we're all going to have shit that we're playing through. What I want to see is a dude I want to see a fucking a James McCann. I want to see a guy get fucking punched right in the fucking face with a fastball and get back up and go, bitch, you don't throw hard enough. I'll be back behind the plate next half inning, and I'll see you tomorrow too. Like, I want that. And that's what that is to an extent. Sure, it's a nail getting stitched on. It's not wearing 97 in the fucking grill and still hanging in there, because good Lord. But yeah, I like that. They need that.
They do need that. And you need to get the Underdog Fantasy app is what you need to do. The MLB season's in full swing, and Underdog Fantasy wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats, strikeouts, total bases, home runs, and so much more. Make entries of all baseball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. It's almost that time, Dallas. It's almost that time where we can be using Major League Baseball games and crossing those over with our beloved Dallas Cowboys. It's almost that time, baby.
Oh, that's Good point. How are we feeling about the Jerry Jones, CD Lamb comments, Dallas? Yeah, I nailed you. Can't
Jay,
get anything past this.
whether or not I'm worried, Jerry's not worried. All right,
Yeah.
whether I'm not worried, Jerry's not worried. Help.
Nice stadium, though. Make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared. That's JARED to get up to $250 in bonus cash and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Jared. John Morosi just tweeted the Royals, the Kansas City Royals, the team that the Red Sox just took 2 of 3 from, are tied for the American League's best record since the All-Star break at 13-8. Who are they tied with, Jay Hay?
Since the All-Star break at
Best
13
record in the American League. Yep.
and the American League.
Mhm.
Who are they tied with? I'm going to go ahead and say the Is it the Houston Astros?
It's the Oakland A's.
That's right, buddy.
Mm.
The
Wow.
Oakland Oz.
The
Yeah.
slugging
Oakland
A's.
Oz.
Yeah, swinging A's, baby. You already know, brother.
What's their record?
13-8. We just fucking said that.
All right.
Don't
Shea
sleep.
Bangaliers.
That's not even that good, honestly. That's kind of surprising. Pick it up, American League. 13-8, second best record. I mean,
The Oakland A's.
No,
The Oakland
the
A's
best.
very well could be on their way to their second winning month since 2022.
Wow. Wow. That's
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though.
Jay, go fuck yourself. I know it's a little early still,
strong.
but I feel pretty good about it. We got the Pale Hose on the schedule again. I feel pretty good about the way things are trending. It's a great place to be right now. Yeah, you know what? I will take 2 minutes right now just to speak to the A's fans who have been able to watch the progression. Look, is the team going to be heading to October? No. What do you need to look for in a year where you've
So
had
you're
a
out.
lot of shit going
So you're
on?
out.
Oh, yeah,
That's
we're
official?
out of October. Out of the race. I don't know. Well, not mathematically.
That's what I'm saying.
Not
Like,
mathematically.
you don't want to be the guy that says that it's over and then they go on some run and get in and you already gave up. So,
I'm not going to be that dude. You're not going to hear it from me.
okay.
No premature
Peter.
ejaculation of my A's out of the playoffs.
Okay.
But it is a nice moment where we've watched guys, much like they saw happen in 17 and 18 with the Simeon and the Olsen and the Chappie and the Pinder group and the Mark Cannon, blah, blah, blah. You're watching guys get better. Max Schumann, I've talked a lot about, and for numbers, folks, you can dive in. It's specific, sure, but out of the 9-hole, what Max Schumann has done as a rookie playing a premium defensive position, you're not going to get much more productivity out of that spot. Max has really stepped up and turned himself into a very, very, very good big league defender. Not a huge offensive threat by any means, but when you, again, start to correlate team, and we highlighted what Lawrence Butler and Brent Rooker did in the month of July, Max Schumann was a major, major part of that. I've talked about that ad nauseum. But yeah, it's just really cool, I think, to watch some of the incremental success, albeit slow and steady. It's happening for A's fans. But that's how the A's right now, outside of, again, it's the only team in baseball that accounts for over half their offense via the long ball.
Yeah,
They
you
absolutely
guys,
pound the fucking baseball. They
yeah.
pound the baseball. Zach Geloff just swung his way out of a little fun career high 3 extra base hit game.
I did not mean for this to be a down the roster.
It's your fucking fault. It's your
thing.
fault.
Like, I just wanted to give them a little bit of love. Did not need to go over the entire A's roster and what they've been up to in the second half of the season.
Yeah, you sure? JP Sears absolutely fucking dominating right now. Nice little roll for JP Sizzle.
I
Huh?
apologize.
We can even throw Paulie Punch out in there, Jay. Hey, he's made 2 great starts. He's not even
on the
wearing green and gold
team.
anymore. I know. Who else you want to talk about?
Exactly.
You want to talk about Mitch Spence?
I don't know. Let's
That
keep.
guy's fucking
Let's
slicing
at the
and
very
dicing,
least
too.
keep it to people that are actually on the team.
Yeah.
Who else you want to talk about? Lucas
Mark
Ursek just got
McGuire, he was great
Lucas
for the A's,
Ursek
right?
just got a
Yeah.
save for the Royals. Michelle Otanez, Tyler Ferguson, these guys were throwing a fucking 100 out of nowhere.
There's never a shortage of people who used to play for the A's playing important roles for teams that matter in the postseason.
We just mentioned Laureano, Joe.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Yep.
Never mind. I hate that guy.
Wow. That was a quick reroute.
I hate Laureano. And it's not his fault, but just because he cost us a game against the Mets a few weeks ago, if you guys remember that. I mean, just to get to your new team and then like try to steal home because you got confused, get out in the 10th inning and then turn around and miss a fucking fly ball to lose the game on a team you just got to. It's like there's really no coming back from that.
Yeah, you know what's fucked up though is I have seen him like on multiple occasions, like when he was with us, like he's ended up fucking scoring and then going out on the defensive side and making a sick play, throwing somebody out at third or home, and then coming up and getting the game-winning hit. Like it's a tough way to ingratiate yourself early with your new squad. That's all right though. Jared, you're looking up the A's players right now, huh? What are you liking?
Honestly, I am. I'm dabbling in some statistical research just because
I can tell.
Well, it's because I think Coley made the point a few weeks ago about how, like, looking at the MLB standings here, the Oakland A's are 15 and a half games back of the wild card spot. And the only team in the American League that has a worse record is the White Sox. And the White Sox are like a galaxy away from the A's. Like, let's not even put them in the same category because they're not. The A's are, a game and a half back of the Angels. So I'm just trying to figure out how their overall record is as bad when, like, they're actually not that bad of a team. Like, they're not a good team, but, like, they're not that bad. So if you take out the White Sox, who are not a real baseball team, how do they have the worst record in the American League? It just seems like every time that they come up, maybe it's because we're just pounded with A's slander, or not slander, but propaganda from Dallas.
Yeah, there are plenty of reasons for this.
Go ahead. Try and explain.
I mean, they have
phenomenon.
a terrible, terrible defense.
Okay, that's one. I've seen it.
Really bad.
There's only one other team. There's only a couple other teams that are not that are worse, Jared.
Yeah.
You watch one of them.
I know that we give a shout out to every time a starting pitcher like breathes in the fifth inning for the A's following their starts, but the rotation has been mostly pretty dumpy on the whole this season as well. So I think when you add a bad defense, really bad, with one of the worst starting rotations in baseball, you're a team that's 19 games under 500, which is where they're at.
Put it like this, Jared. We just had a guy who started 2 days ago, Osvaldo Bido, former Buckyo, but he was a guy who has now gone the route of Mitch Spence, who I just talked about, who's in the starting rotation. Where did Mitch Spence come from? Well, he was a Rule 5 pick, first of all, and he was in our bullpen. And Mitch Spence had to pitch his way into the starting rotation, and it was out of necessity because of injury, but he actually started to step up and pitch well, and he earned himself an opportunity to take the ball in the rotation. That had to happen. Well, what had to happen for that to be a thing? Some other guys had to fall on their face. Some other guys had to stumble, which, to Jay Hayes' point, is exactly what has happened. And that happened early in the season. You were trying to get looks at different guys, and things were not working out. So what did Bido do? Bido came up to the big leagues out of necessity, started pitching in the same role that Mitch Spence pitched in, out of bullpen, long relief, and he started to dominate, started to do really well. And then again, out of necessity, an opportunity to enter the starting rotation. That's where he's at right now. But like a guy like JP Sears, like for Mitch Spence, you talk about getting deep into ball games, Jay. 11 out of 12 or 12 out of the last 13 starts he's made, he's pitched into the sixth or completed 6 or more. So stuff like that is what we're starting to see over the long haul. But in terms of why do the numbers look the way they do collectively, it's because you haven't been able to catch the ball and you haven't been able to get outs early in the season, and you're just now starting to overcome that and grow into who you're becoming defensively.
Just to pile on a little bit, since it's a very rare opportunity that you're just given a runway to kind of throw some bad A's stats out there. Starting rotation, third highest batting average allowed on the season, with the second lowest strikeout rate. The only rotation that has a lower strikeout rate is the Rockies. And in terms of ERA, just good old fashioned ERA, the third highest ERA by starting rotation this season. The only ones with a worse are the Rockies again, who pretty much always lead that category, and the Marlins.
We have fucking homers, Jay.
Dude, I know. I dig it, man. I dig it. One of my favorite stats of the season is about the A's run scoring prowess, but the other side of the balls, the other sides of the balls, be what they be.
Yeah. You know who else hits homers, Jay?
Who?
I played over 2 decades in the big leagues.
Ted Williams.
My number is retired by 2 different organizations, and it's not the same number.
Ricky Henderson.
I won an MVP in the 70s.
Dave Parker.
I was selected to 14 All-Star teams.
Frank Robinson.
I am known for my power as I've hit over 500 home runs, but only have 2 silver sluggers.
That's weird. Reggie Jackson.
No way.
I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1993 with 93.6% of the vote. And would this have given this away? I've struck out more than anybody in MLB history.
Yeah, that would have been. I think I would have the last 2. I mean, I know this is kind of by design, but like the last 2, because I know Reggie's got an unusually high induction percentage for, respectfully, like where he is on the all-time great list. So, yeah, that would have been interesting. Glad I got it though.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, more strikeouts than anybody in Major League history. I don't know that I knew that.
What number does he have retired with the Yankees?
44.
44, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. 9 with the A's.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very unique distinction. There's definitely not many guys that have, first of all, that have their number retired by 2 different organizations. But second, that those numbers are different.
Yeah. And you know what? Like,
Carlton
those are
Fisk
2...
is another one. I think he was 27 with the Red Sox and 72 with the White Sox.
And those are 2 like good numbers, quality.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Mm-hmm. They sure are. Over the weekend, the Houston Astros swept the Boston Red Sox. They've won 5 straight games. Yordan Alvarez made the Red Sox pitching staff his bitch. And it was fascinating to see the discourse on Twitter about like trying to play matchups with Yordan. It's like, he can hit lefties, he can hit righty. Like, you just got to throw your best out there. It has nothing to do with lefty-righty matchups. Like, he's going to hit whatever. I looked it up before the show. Dating back to June 16th, Yordan Alvarez is 4th in Major League Baseball in OPS. It goes Aaron Judge at 1246, Vladdy Jr. at 1176, Bobby Witt Jr. at 1110, and then Yordan Alvarez at 1107. And those are the only 4 guys that are in the 1100s over that span. Shohei Ohtani just misses the cut at 1083, and then Brent Rooker at 1080. So yeah, Yordan Alvarez breathing new life into these Houston Astros as the second half race continues between them and the Seattle Mariners over who's going to take down the AL West. Do you think, I guess the discussion can kind of go into, do you believe, as these 2 teams are tied for first place entering play today on Monday, do both of these teams make the playoffs or just one?
I Ooh, I think just one.
Because the Mariners right now, it's percentage points that they're technically not in first place. They're 0 games back, but they're 1 percentage point behind the Houston Astros. So that puts them 2.5 games back of the Royals for the third wild card spot. So you think just one. Only the strongest will survive out of the AL West.
Is what I think.
Okay. Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dow because it's just there's a lot of teams they got to compete with. You got Twins, Royals, Yankees, or Orioles are gonna get in ahead of you, and then you even got the Red Sox, and then even maybe the Rays, but maybe not the Rays. But not all those teams, there's a lot of teams you're fighting with. So it seems like, funny enough, it's kind of rare this happens, but the division seems like the easier path for both these teams. And I just don't. You don't really have a feeling that both these teams are gonna. I mean, maybe the Astros, but the Mariners. I think like what happened last year, where the division kind of limped in. They kind of struggled down the stretch. You don't really, unless one of these teams gets hot.
Well, let me ask you guys this: for the strength of schedule, you know how they have it listed for the regular season. Is that updated? So that is. Right now, like remaining strength of schedule or remaining schedule, the strength of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So as it sits right now, the Mariners would have a slightly more difficult path than the Twins, and the Royals have just a slightly more difficult path than the Mariners do in regards to strength of schedule. The Red Sox actually have the same strength of schedule remaining as the Royals, so 509.
Okay.
And that's where the Red Sox sit.
Okay.
Jared, I'll answer your question definitively. It's going to only be one of them, and I think it's going to be the Astros. You can pick an arbitrary cutoff date, and there are lots of them that work. I use June 1st, but they are the best team, tied for the best team in baseball over that stretch, the Astros. I think they can be two things at once. This can feel like a post-dynasty version of the Astros in terms of quality, while also being much closer to that than they played through the first 2 or 3 weeks or month of the season. Like this to me, like we've described these two teams as, well, the Astros offense is obviously better, but damn, that Mariners starting pitching is clearly A, the class of the league, and B, much better than the Astros. I just think the gap between the starting pitching quality has shrunk much faster than any sort of gains have been made offensively by the Mariners. Like, I know they made imports and they just got Julio back, but to me, this Astros offense is just unequivocally going to be better, like regardless of how long it takes Kyle Tucker to get back. And the starting rotation, to me, is damn near of equal quality at this point to what the Mariners have going on, given the depth. We just saw Arrighetti spin another, like he has 25 strikeouts over his last 2 games, and it's not just strikeout fluff. Those have both been really good starts in and of themselves too. Like we obviously know about Valdez. Like, I think the Kikuchi stuff is real in the sense that like he's obviously missing more bats with his pitch assortment and the sequencing that they're using with the Astros than he was with the Blue Jays. And we've noted Hunter Brown's prolonged hot streak or good streak or however we want to look at it. Like, I just think this rotation, once Verlander returns, runs 6 deep legitimately. And Verlander may very well be the 6th best pitcher of those 6 guys at this point. I really like the Astros moving forward in this division.
Yeah, the Kikuchi addition has helped them significantly. I mean, he's got 20 punch outs in his last 11 innings over his last 2 starts, his first 2 starts with the Astros. I mean, I don't know a better way to show up and show people, yeah, something's happening here. We saw something in this guy. He's seeing something. He's listening to us. He went out and punched out the second most people he's punched out this season.
Well, and it hasn't been as spectacular as what Yordan has done on the season or even during the series or last handful of games, but Alex Bregman is playing better on the whole than he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, he's got a damn near 1,500 OPS over his last 5 games. And if you want to go further back, I mean, Need I remind you that Alex Bregman's OPS got as low as 534, as deep as May 12th. So, yes, he had a very large hole to dig himself out of, but we're also talking about a guy with an 857 OPS and 16 homers over his last 76 games, which feels much more like the Alex Bregman level of production that we would have anticipated entering the season. So you have two of your four most important hitters clicking at the right time, with one of them hopefully eventually coming back in Tucker at some point before the end of the season.
It's deja vu all over again, Jay. Hey, this Astros team sucks ass in the first month of the season every year, and then they become the best team, and they make the World Series every single year. This year, they were terrible for like 2 months, 3 months, but happens every year. And I think the biggest thing with the Astros is like what Jay was saying about Arrighetti and Hunter Brown. Like, these were the two of the worst starting pitchers in baseball for like the first 2-3 months of the season. And it's just like Jay said, if they're going to be good, like that makes how much of a difference? You get the two worst players to some of the two best.
He just punched out 13 against the Red Sox.
And we've talked about Yordan and the extended production. Like, you need somebody as well to be able to shoulder the load. Like, you need, and especially for a team like the Astros right now, they needed somebody to be able to say, fire all your arrows at me. I'll be the dude to put the team on my back, and I'll let some other guys work through their issues. They'll resurface. We'll start to go. Since July 12th, Yordan Alvarez, here's a slash line, 345, 447 OBP, 644 slug. That's good for a 1090 OPS. During this time, the power, 6 long balls, 6 doubles, 12 RBI, the patience, the discipline, 15 walks to just 12 strikeouts. He's been intentionally walked 5 times. Why do I bring that up? Because that is the identifier of a guy who has put a team and a lineup on his back. Everybody else acknowledges that and says, you ain't going to be the dude to get it done. You will not be the dude to beat us. And even in the face of that effort from the opposition, Yordan Alvarez and the Astros have just beat you. And that's why they're sitting where they're at right now.
I know there are a number of teams in the AL that have better records than the Astros. I count 4 of them that have better records, 5 of them that have better records than the Astros. But like, if this version of the Astros, like everybody's healthy, all these rosters are healthy, make it into the postseason, like Joey saying what he said triggered, like, I am very, very afraid. Well, no team's afraid. I would not want to face the Astros in a postseason series if this is the roster that they're going to be trotting out, presumably with Kyle Tucker by that point. Like, I think this rotation and offense and bullpen combination can go toe-to-toe with any of these teams in the American League, even these teams that have spent the entire seasons being better and may go wall-to-wall better than the Astros record-wise. Guardians, Orioles, Yankees, Twins, Royals, all of those teams I'm including in this. I think the Astros, if they get in, would be poised to potentially make another extended run in the postseason. Like, that's where I think this is lining up if they can get in.
Yeah, I mean, like as far as them being able to, because they take the division, things are just different for them. Things are just different.
What were they, 11 games under at one point?
Yes.
12. They were 12 and 24. Yeah.
But that I really do believe, and it's great that it's worked out this way for Joe Espada, the manager. But how many times do you hear what he said 2 months ago, and then it actually start to work itself out that way? When he said, "Hey, we got time. I trust this group. I know who they are. I know what we're getting back. I know what these guys are capable of when they start to click. I'm not too concerned. I know it looks bad now, but just give us time. The season is long. Things turn around." And this is exactly what they're talking about.
As low as they got, the 12 games under 500 was as low as they got May 8th. So since May 9th, Dallas, where do they rank in terms of record in the MLB?
Yeah, I mean, probably first.
Number 1.
Yeah.
50-31, best record in baseball since they were 12 games under 500.
Yep. And that's what that is why the route to the postseason in the American League West and in the American League runs through Houston.
Always has.
Because of shit like that. Simply put.
Yeah. You worried about Hader at all, or is that nitpicking? Come postseason time.
No. No, I mean, that will be... So, like, if we're going to nitpick with it now, would I be able to tell you once the postseason comes, everything goes out the window? Everything starts over.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's why you gotta, I don't want to say consider him for MVP conversation, but maybe, like, over the span of 80-something games, 81 games, that the Astros have the best record in baseball, and they went from 12 games under 500 to best record in baseball over that span, at least. Yordan Alvarez is hitting .341 with a 1062 OPS. Then you have Bregman at .288 with an 846 OPS. Then it goes Diaz, 795, Altuve, 739, Myers, 655, Pena, 653. So it's basically I guess you also have to look at the pitching and give your nod to the starters and the bullpen. But offensively, it's been all Yordan Alvarez, a little bit of Bregman, and that's it.
Well, I tell you right, like the Kyle Tucker thing. I mean, is he, we got baseball activity? Like, is he rehabbing? Like, that's a question, because his lower leg like that, you hope it's just a bruise. It just doesn't feel like it's behaved like a bruise, and you hope that there's nothing more going on that they don't eventually find out. That would be terrible. He could
run the bases soon.
So if that's the case, if he can run the bases soon, then we're getting to a point where he's applying pressure to it. This is just now starting to get to, is he going to be able to move on it every day? How long is it going to take until he can move on it every day?
Hold on. I just want to emphasize what Jared said. Could start running the bases soon. Isn't cleared yet.
Nope.
Hasn't started running them.
This is the quote. The first-year manager said that while Kyle Tucker is running, they need to see more from him before they can put a timetable on his return, which would include a rehab assignment. Quote, "We need to get him running," Espada said to several outlets, including The Athletic. "The light jog we're seeing is a step in the right direction, but we want him to be pushing himself, cutting, doing all the outfield drills at max effort for us to put a timetable on when we can get him back."
Because
he's been out since June 7th.
Yeah. And that's why I said exactly what I said about the injury. And you can tell me it's a bruise. Fine. He's running very gingerly, and you want to see him cut, which means you want to see him apply pressure to this extremity. And why do you want to do that? To figure out if it's compromised. Because if it's just a bruise, we're probably beyond that, in my opinion. But if it's just a super, really deep, extra, super aggressive, super hard, really deep bone bruise, well, then maybe that's what he's working with. And I mean, you hope he comes back. But if we're at that point right now, I think what Joe Espada is telling you is we don't necessarily have an opportunity to bring him back and just have him DH. We don't want that to be the case. I think we'd rather have Kyle Tucker out in the outfield than we'd rather have Yordan Alvarez out in the outfield.
I'd be really disappointed if it was September, but we're optimistic that it'll be before September.
Well, that's good. I mean, shit, man. Who knows? By the end of the month, Jared, he could literally and figuratively have turned enough corners to be back in the lineup healthy.
Yeah. But yeah, from the pitching perspective of that run that we were talking about, since they had the 12 games under, Hunter Brown, 261. Kikuchi's made 2 starts for him with a 327. Framber, 334. Blanco, 343. I know Arrigetti's been better of late, but it's a 430. So, yeah, shout out to the pitching. Shout out to Yordan for putting the team on his back, but also shout out to their rotation there.
Yordan will reprise his role right in the meaty middle of that MVP curve this season. Settle in there at 5th or 6th and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Those first 4 mostly spoken for, I think.
Speaking of enjoying it, how about HelloFresh?
Hello.
Yeah. We all know home cooked meals are so much better for you, but you don't always have the time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh, handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table, quick and painless. No more endless recipe searching or spending money on a whole jar of spices for only a pinch. With HelloFresh, everything you need to make delicious meals comes right to your door, pre-portioned and fresh. Plus, the included step-by-step recipe cards, they make cooking simple. Dallas, you a good cook? I feel like you might be.
I don't brag about myself, Jared, but yes, I'm an incredible cook.
Yeah, well, with HelloFresh, I mean, it takes all the hard parts out of it. They give you the recipe. They give you all the ingredients that you need. They basically do the whole thing for you. And it's easy to customize your meals with protein or veggies. And don't forget to check out HelloFresh Market for delicious add-on items to jazz up your weekly deliveries. It's made my life a lot easier. You know, Dallas?
I believe it.
Father of 2, you know, it's cheer season. We got practice. We got competitions. Big dogs got to eat. I'm broadcasting big league ball games over here. I got podcasts. You know, we got to make life easy when it comes to dinner time. And big thank you to HelloFresh for doing that, because if the big dog doesn't eat, we got problems. So thank you to HelloFresh, and thank you to HelloFresh again for free breakfast for life. Go to HelloFresh.com/freebid. 1 free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life.
Poor Vita.
Just by going to HelloFresh.com/free FREEBID. Hell of a deal. Big thank you to HelloFresh for that. Saving my life over here. The NL West, perhaps turning into the most, I mean, it was already I guess it was the most interesting division in baseball just because of what the Dodgers did in the offseason. But now you had a reigning National League champion D-backs into the mix, and the San Diego Padres, who kind of like, I don't want to say they've been knocking on the door of not taking down the division, but kind of like being a force in the National League in general, not just the NL West, but like trying to knock on the door of being a powerhouse in the National League. They've made moves over the last 5 years, never really got to that point. They did obviously have the NLCS appearance in 22 against the Phils, but I don't think that many people took them seriously as some sort of perennial candidate. But they had their 7-game winning streak snapped on Sunday. The Dodgers swept your Pittsburgh Pirates, Dallas. And the D-backs, you want to talk about a measuring stick series for them. They took 3 out of 4 from the fighting Phils. So the NL West, there's no separation still between the D-backs and the Phillies, the Padres, who are both 3.5 games back of your Los Angeles Dodgers. And I don't know where you guys fall on this, because I see it from their perspective, but you can't quite play the underdog card. But they are already trying to cook up their underdog story. Dodger fans being like, no one believed in us. So many injuries, people counting us out, talking about, first round playoff exit. The Dodger fans are already crafting their underdog story, it's cute. It really is cute. No one feels bad for them. And I feel like most Dodger fans are self-aware to know no one should feel bad for us, but they can band together with this underdog mentality. That's fine.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're going to do.
Mhm.
If Jared, if you as your own Dodger fan base aren't going to feel bad for yourself for missing out on about a player and a half's worth of the $1 billion player combo that you came into this season with, then who is going to feel bad for you?
Yeah.
Right? so you got to huddle around, you got to close ranks, and you got to cry on each other's shoulder. No Yamamoto. I know. We got no Shohei on the mound. I know. We got no Mookie. I know. It's fucking insane. How are we going to make it?
Can we talk about that
to
for a
October?
second? What do you think, Jay? Hey, what do you think happened with Dave Roberts and the Dodgers being like, yeah, so when Mookie comes back, he's going to be our shortstop. Just kidding. He's going to be our right fielder. What do you think happened there?
Could have been a miscommunication maybe between Mookie and Dave Roberts. Also could have been a reconsideration of how their actual team is going to be configured, I guess, maybe at its optimum version. I know that Tommy Edman hasn't played necessarily and isn't traditionally a shortstop, so maybe him factoring into this isn't correct, but like they do seem to have a little bit more infield depth, I think, relatively speaking now than they did when Mookie was forced into action there at the time, and maybe feel he's best served in right field instead of, I guess, Jason Hayward on a more regular basis, who's obviously limited in a lot of ways. But Gavin Lux, if you want to squint, has been playing better of late at second base. So maybe you're more comfortable with him picking up more playing time and having shortstop be something of a carousel instead of sticking Mookie there. I'll go with miscommunication, but maybe something of that other smattering is in there as well.
Joseph, where do you see more value for the Dodgers? Mookie Betts at shortstop or Mookie Betts in right field?
I would say Mookie Betts is better at right field than shortstop. I'm interested to know who's going to play shortstop. I mean, Gavin Lux, did he ever play shortstop? Yeah. Ahmed Rosario?
Yeah.
I think probably the big thing is Tommy Edman, because when he gets healthy, I think you want to play Tommy Edman.
Miguel Rojas?
But, Miguel Rojas is, you could do with or without him. I think they'd rather not have Miguel Rojas in the lineup.
Right.
So he might be the odd man out. However, it's got to be because of Tommy Edman, I'd say. I mean, they just signed like Nick Ahmed Rosario, and Tommy Edman at the deadline. All those guys are, I guess Ahmed Rosario plays outfield too, but
the decision is that what you're getting from Mookie offensively playing right field without the demand of that position up the middle is significantly better than what you would get with Mookie playing anywhere else. And you have already resigned to the fact that what you're getting out of the shortstop position means more to you defensively than it does offensively, which is why Mookie's going to go back out into the outfield, and you have your pick of 3.5 guys that you could run out there at shortstop, feel really good about what you're going to get defensively, and not have to worry and depend on them offensively to carry you through. That's why Mookie's out there, is because he's going to do what he does in right field without this demand, and that's why we shored up our roster with the other players that we went and identified.
So, not to be reductive, but like, so it's really a question of which guy who's below what you would want offensively do you not want in the lineup, right? It's Miguel Rojas at short, presumably. I think Dave Roberts said as much, or Jason Hayward in right field. It's an either or, and it seems clear based on how Dave Roberts characterized the exchange with Mookie Betts that Mookie Betts / the team feel most comfortable with him easing himself back in as a right fielder than they do as a shortstop. So to me, it's like if you're covering up one hole regardless and you still have the other one, at least everybody is comfortable in their positions with this alignment instead of Mookie's a little uncomfortable at shortstop and you still have the problem out in right field offensively because Hayward's not very good offensively at this point.
Right. So it's just like when you're putting your lineups together in MLB The Show. Like you got a guy playing a secondary position, you know that you take a little bit of a hit just because, right? And just to give you some numbers on Mookie Betts positionally, As a second baseman in 270 plate appearances, Mookie Betts, career-wise, has hit 326 with a 422 OBP, 574 slug, a 996 OPS. As a shortstop, 304, 365 OBP, 674 slug, and that's in 52 plate appearances. And as a right fielder, 370 plate appearances, 290, 403 OBP, slugging 567 with a 970 OPS.
Twins just called up one of their top prospects. The Minnesota Twins are calling up right-hander Zebby Matthews, one of the fastest rising prospects in baseball this year, sources tell ESPN. Matthews, an 8th-round pick out of Western Carolina in 2022, has 114 strikeouts and 7 walks in 97 innings. Elite command, good stuff. From our pal, Jeffrey Passan.
There you go. Little help in the arms. Oh, and sorry, my bad. That thing with everything I just said about Mookie, that was not career-wise. That was last year, 2023. I was just looking at the positions. Well, that fucking helps.
Helps out big time.
We know what October is. We know what September is. This
It's an
ain't
arms
a
race.
scene. It's a goddamn arms race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love it.
Are you guys, I don't know. I don't know if worried is right. Are you guys mildly concerned about the Phillies' play of late? I don't even know if it's concerning. I think it's encouraging that, because if the Phillies are not this juggernaut, then the playing field in the entire landscape of Major League Baseball is like, there's no tier 1. There's just a bunch of tier 2 teams duking it out, which I think is more entertaining for the postseason.
Doesn't that feel more like how these teams are roster-wise, though? And that's not even recency bias, I don't think. It's like, you know, if we want to make that big tier, Phillies, Dodgers,
Yankees,
Orioles, Yankees, you could make it Guardian. You can make it bigger if you want. I think you're absolutely correct that the Phillies are not a juggernaut, that they are not a tier above these other teams. They may still be the best of all of these teams. But I think I'm mostly encouraged in a sense. I know I'm not a day-to-day Phillies fan, so it's tough to watch the losses, but their playoff odds are at 99% and their division lead is 7.5 games. That they have endured this, what is undoubtedly going to be the worst stretch of baseball that they will play all season, and have had no meaningful chipping away at any route they would need to get to the postseason or win the division, I think is super encouraging in the big picture of things. And no one, like, I know Ranger Suarez is on the IL and hopefully he comes back, but it's not like this downturn was triggered by, you know, the permanent loss of Bryce Harper or Trey Turner, or, Zach Wheeler is not the frontline guy that we thought he was. All of those things are still happening. All of them are intact. We had a Kyle Schwarber love fest recently. Like, it's okay. Like, to me, I'm mostly encouraged.
Yeah.
I mean, if I think this team is still well positioned to throw their weight around. I mean,
no doubt. If there's one team that could flip a switch and just bulldoze their way to the World Series, it's going to be the Phillies.
Well, and we're talking about this stretch that they're on. We know what happened with Bryce Harper during this run, right? He was awful. 4 for fucking 50 something, 5 for 50 something. Like, it was not good. And that's not going to maintain. Like, that's going to change. And you've gotten good help from their young pitcher, Christopher Sanchez, right? Christopher Sanchez.
Not lately.
They got a, what's that? Yeah, not lately, Jay. It has been bumpy. But yeah, with what the bullpen is capable of, what this lineup is capable of, I think that the Phillies, yes, more than capable of turning it right back on and throwing their weight around. I'm not terribly worried about the Philadelphia Phillies.
I'm not either. Just because I feel like that's a team that could be limping in September, and then once October hits, it is a completely, like, I know like metaphorically it's a new season, but for the Phillies specifically, it is an entirely different environment. It's everything.
All it takes is a leadoff homer from fucking Schwarber, and everything changes. Everything changes.
Correct.
Feels like everybody's just like, all right, we're back to doing what the Phils do. This is going to be fun.
I ain't worried about them Phils. The National League wild card picture, the Padres and the D-backs. It's like we're going to get 3 NL West teams. Are we all in agreement there? We're going to get 3 NL West teams in the playoffs?
Sure looks that way.
Likely.
Yeah. Joseph?
Yeah. Most likely.
If there were to be one NL West team to fall off and miss the playoffs, who is it?
Diamondbacks. I think the Diamondbacks are not as good as the Padres in my eyes. Just
They're
because
still very similar.
You sure about that?
I mean, the D-backs have a plus 68 run differential. The Padres have a plus 60.
Well, let's see what happens with Eduardo Rodriguez. That's a big piece coming back for the Diamondbacks. He's had one
really look good his first time.
Just one start. That's the sad thing about them is like him and Montgomery was their big offseason accusations. They had
Accusations.
They had 2 big accusations this offseason.
2
Very
big
obvious
accusations of the offseason.
And, they were accused of being good pitchers. Turns out they are not. And Jordan Montgomery has a 6.37 ERA. And Eduardo Rodriguez has been even worse because he hasn't even pitched. Actually, technically, that's probably even better because Montgomery has been below replacement level. And I say that to say that's why I think the Padres are better, just because of those 2 players.
Wow. Wasn't Montgomery fucking pissing and moaning about something the other day? Let me see.
I think he also might have gained weight. He might have gained weight.
You think he's fat now?
I don't want to.
He complains like a fat person.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is him complaining about the humidity. Like, dude, you signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Humid indoors.
Yeah.
It's a jungle in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like pitching in a jungle here sometimes. I don't know how it gets so humid, but I swear it's less humid in St. Louis during the summer than here. But we got to just battle through it.
Merrill called it swampy at one point.
Yeah, maybe we need to open the roof or something. It's crazy.
Did he just compare the desert, indoors in the desert with a humidor and a fucking air conditioner, to outdoors St. Louis summer?
Thank God he chose not to play for my team.
that is, it's a jungle in here.
No.
That sad commentary aside, shout out to the D-backs.
Yeah.
27 wins in Major League Baseball, all of them against Major League Baseball teams since June 29th. That is the most in baseball.
So they got the best hitters. I mean, WRC plus since All-Star break, they're number 1 in hitting. And I believe they're like number 2 or 3 in pitching. And guess who got hot?
Corbin.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
And finally.
Is he back?
Isn't it,
Joe? Is he back?
Yeah, I think he's back.
Jay Hayes reluctant to say back.
I am a little reluctant. Yeah, I am actually.
Why is that?
Because he's definitely back in the sense that like, he's not like really, really terrible like he was throughout most of the season. But I don't know. The period of being back is fewer than 100 plate appearances, and I don't know. I just would love to see a little bit more. I would hope that he is. I mean, shit, man, he was my NL MVP pick. I felt like an asshole for most of the season. I would love that Corbin Carroll's back. He's supposed to be one of the most exciting players in the game. So I'm hoping Joey's right. I'm just a little cautious at the moment, given how prolonged the bad stretch was, and that a lot of people contributed to a shoulder issue, which I'm confused how that would get better over the course of the grind of a season. So I'm just either that wasn't what was happening, which is what I hope. I want him to be healthy, or, he was really bad for 92 games, and I would like to see him be good for more than 23.
Well, over these last 18 games, he's hitting .270 with an OPS of .996, 5 homers, 11 RBIs, 12 punch-outs, 8 walks.
Mm.
He had like 2 homers through the first 4 months of the season. Like an insanely low amount of home runs.
That's like super alarming, though, I think.
Yes.
I mean, obviously beyond the obvious, like that you're not elevating the ball in that way. And like, I believe all of his, his launch angle was down, his ground ball rate was up. Like maybe it was a mechanical thing, but 2 homers over 2 or 3 months of a season for a guy who got real MVP consideration entering the year, not just from me, but from the books. And we saw what he did over the second half of I don't know. It's just.
Well, that's where you have to give. You have to. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm just saying, what if I told you he had 2 home runs over the past 2 games?
Yes.
Does that
would
change your
be
tune?
way better.
And this is why I'm using the BACK word when it comes to Corbin.
Yeah, I think
and
you have to
speed doesn't get in slumps.
You have to give real credence to the injury, because if it's the shoulder and it has anything to do with the swing, that's going to impact your ability to get to the baseball with authority. It's going to impact your ability to lift the baseball as well. So mechanically, things are going to change. Think about what we saw with Fernando Tatis Jr. and him trying to work through his shoulder issue, right? Subluxation, shoulders popping out. You can't go to that big, long, one-handed finish anymore. You got to keep 2 hands on the bat. You got to get used to being able to finish your swing in this fashion, very different than you have before. So could be a matter of Corbin Carroll finally getting to a place of comfort while playing through this injury and finally getting to somewhere where he's like, you know what? I can execute this. I'm starting to get back to who I am. Doesn't feel great. Feels a hell of a lot better than it did the first part of the season, though. And this is what we're getting.
Should be a fun race. Should be a fun race. And if you want to check out some of those games in the NL West, well, boy, do we have an app for you. It's the Game Time app. You already know. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Jay, hey, you going to Yankee Stadium, you said?
Yeah, I have not purchased my tickets yet because I'm waiting to use the Game Time app, but I am planning to go on June 20th.
Wow.
Or, August 20th, rather. August.
Yeah.
Hello, where'd the summer go?
Hello. Yeah, summer's pretty much over. It's almost postseason time. That's crazy.
Yep. Next Tuesday.
I don't think I did anything this summer, really.
A lot of good pod content.
Yeah. Yeah, we put out good content. We went to Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did that.
Yep. Shout out to the Game Time app for the Home Run Derby tickets. Yep. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game of the event. Save even more when you choose a section and you let Game Time choose the seats for you. They've got all-in pricing. Toggle that feature, and it'll show you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your tickets. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry today. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the promo code BID for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay. Some news and notes here. Matt Kemp. Yes, the very same Matt Kemp who once dated Rihanna. He signed a one-day contract to retire as a Dodger. Yeah, I mean, he won the MVP, yeah? Or no, Ryan Braun fucked him? Yeah, so I mean, is this...
one of the many people Ryan Braun fucked along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy for him, I guess. I don't know that I think of Matt Kemp as someone that needs to sign a one-day contract to retire with the team. I mean, maybe I'm just like misremembering Matt Kemp's Dodger tenure, and maybe it was more significant than I recall. But
well, it was pretty strong. I mean, you're talking about
he's
a
a
guy
very good player. But
I think I'm closer to Jared's perspective on this one. I do think it feels a little light for a retire as a Dodger type of guy, but I also think it's fair to note that period of Dodger baseball is not the current period of Dodger baseball. And that like we think of them, current fans think of them as, juggernaut level teams. And that's what they are right now, but that's not really what they were during Matt Kemp's heyday. Maybe the latter part of it, they started to kind of go into that. But when Matt Kemp was really, really in his prime, that was not what the Dodgers were all about. So it's fine, I guess. He was the most important offensive player of that era.
I think it's usually because when we see stuff like this happens, there's some sort of pomp and circumstance that follows, right? Like, is he going into the Hall of Fame? Is it like, it's usually like a precursor to some other more grandiose celebrations and acknowledgments and whatever. But I think in terms of just where Matt Kemp in the pantheon of Dodger lore stands with that time period of the franchise, all-star guy, damn near MVP, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger, blah, 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 blah. Like he's their guy. I don't know if it's something that gets national headlines, but hey, Matt Kemp is also going to sign a contract to retire a Dodger.
Also, let's not forget that his return in 2018 became an all-star for the Dodgers, kind of ushered in the new era of Dodgers baseball. So
yeah, that's when he was Fat Kemp.
Fat Kemp.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a
Very
big boy
different.
moving around.
Very different. Yeah. Think about that. Fucking all-star, right?
He was with the Braves, right? He got fat with the Braves, and then the Braves got pissed that he was fat?
Yeah. If your last name's Kemp, you are required to have a late career fat period.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Kemp did it very well. Yeah, Matt Kemp had his. Yeah,
Tony Kemp's about to.
That'd be the most impressive given his build.
Sean Kemp was the Rain Man. Matt Kemp became the Grain Man.
Aaron Fudge. Yeah, he. I forget. I remember blogging
Garrett
about
Donut
this.
Hole.
Yeah, he ended up like not being able to like run specific routes in spring training.
Well, his ankle. Remember? I mean, the bad ankle, bad wheel.
And he was fat, Dallas. Come on.
He had a bad wheel.
That's what happens when you're fat.
He had a really bad injury.
Anyways, I'm happy for Matt Kemp. I don't know. This turned into fat shaming him for his physique 10 years ago, but I am happy for Matt Kemp. I am. Chris Bassitt, someone that is very smart when it comes to the science of pitching. I feel like, there's pitchers and then there's throwers, the old saying. He's a pitcher. Smart guy. But he was not ready for the open roof, closed roof situation in Toronto. And this is what he said.
Roof being closed, completely different than roof being open. Wasn't really ready for it. My worst sinkers with the roof open around 16, best sinkers around 22. Today, worst sinkers were 13, best sinkers were 15. So I had to completely change my mechanics to kind of get the movement I wanted. This is just a different one. Obviously, indoors is indoors, but this is it's different.
I would say that like he's up there for guys that I'm most surprised to not anticipate or be prepared for the elements. I feel like he's a very cerebral pitcher.
Yeah, I think he was speaking to. I mean,
well.
I didn't speak to him after the game. He spoke to the media. But yeah, like I would be curious as to know when he found out. I mean, how much time? I know it takes about 20 minutes to a half hour for that roof to open and close, whichever way it's going. So he very well could have found out about this like on his way out. And I think what a lot of people are thinking is, okay, well, if he found out a half hour at least before the game, was 30 minutes not enough time for him to mentally figure out how he wanted to go about attacking this lineup? Because it's not like he got on the mound and then they were like, timeout, we're going to open the roof. And he was like, oh, shit, I didn't see that coming. This is what I got to do. And I love Bass. I mean, you guys know this. I fucking love the dude. But this is sort of like, okay, well, what would be the approach then? What would have changed? What would you have done differently? And I think the answer to that is if you know that you're pitching in a certain weather environment, for a guy in Chris Bassitt who will tell you, I've got 8-9 different pitches. Doesn't mean I throw each and every one of them all game, but based on certain weather conditions, I might feature a different attack plan. I might not try to sink the ball in an area where the air is stagnant and there's not much flow. I'm not getting much help from Mother Nature, because you hear him talking about the movement that's being measured, right? So when he lets a ball go, he's expecting a certain type of ball flight based on the environment. And when you pitch in a dome and you pitch outside, you are very aware of how the elements affect your stuff. So when you get just sort of ambushed with a complete change of attack plan, which is what being notified at a late moment that the roof is going to be closed could do, I know what it's like to mentally lock in and prepare for a test. So imagine you've walked in to go take your math test and now you're taking an English test. Like, well, fuck, that was not what I studied for at all. This is different. Well, you should be able to make the adjustment. You're right. You're right. But sometimes those adjustments just don't come soon enough. And that's, I think, what happened here for Chris Bassitt was he ran into a mental hurdle that he was unfortunately unable to clear. But there needs to be substance to, and there needs to be an understanding that he's not making excuses per se. He's letting you know that there is a difference in effect in the elements. And when guys have their stuff affected to the extent he believes his is, or he probably has evidence to back up how affected his stuff is, then you can understand why guys might feel a certain type of way when the game is completely changed.
I thought it was some of the most interesting, quote unquote, excuse making that I've heard from a baseball player in a long time. And I don't mean that derogatory in any way. Like I just think there's a non-trivial percentage of baseball fans and listeners of this podcast that are like, oh, a guy's pitching today. He's got his game plan and off he goes. And it's like kind of like this static thing. And just this to hear a pitcher verbalize that, like, yes, there is a game plan. Things like the dome being open or closed and how much movement I'm getting on a sinker, which to Dallas's point, like Chris Bassitt has like 7 or 8 pitches listed on Baseball Savant this year as him throwing. Like he may only be planning to really truly feature 3 of those pitches the first 2 times around the lineup or the first time around the lineup or whatever it is. And to have, you know, like a half a foot worth of movement on the inch on the sinker change based on that is just, I just thought it was a fascinating little clip.
What's this Logan Gilbert, Cal Raleigh thing, Jay?
Oh, Bryce Miller?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was just funny. Bryce Miller just said that sometimes he'll shake off Cal Raleigh and Raleigh will just stare at him. He won't offer another option. And he'll just stare right back at him until Miller throws the pitch that he originally requested.
Good. That's how you get shit done.
So you go and look at some of the numbers for Chris Bassitt.
Mm-hmm.
And the average spin on the sinker was down 34 RPMs. Fastball down 10, sweeper down 66, the slider down 94. So you start to get a sense maybe that Chris Bassitt has a pretty good idea of what he does and how it affects or how it's affected So it's not a dude just running his mouth. It's a guy who's got a pretty good idea of what happens when he lets the baseball go and why he gets the results he gets.
What else we got here? Verlander's making a rehab start soon. Or he already made the rehab start.
He made it.
Yes. Everything was positive. Justin Verlander took his first step towards returning to the Houston Astros, tossing 3 innings for their AAA affiliate. Okay. I mean, at this point, I'm not saying do they even need Justin Verlander. That sounds crazy to say, but they're kind of set. Like if the playoffs were to start in 3 weeks, so you have a returning Justin Verlander, let's say he gets 3-4 starts under his belt at the big league level. Are you putting him in the playoff rotation just based on experience and name, or is he someone that's not even making the cut? Or at least like maybe he could be in a best of 7, maybe he could be your game 4 swing guy. But I feel like you've got a top 3 that you feel pretty good about right now.
Who do you like? You like Hunter Brown over Verlander? Because I would
Blanco, Brown.
I would put Kikuchi and Arrighetti behind Verlander for sure. I think 100% if they go to the playoffs, they're going to put Verlander in the starting rotation.
You're going to put him in the rotation just because of what you're paying him and who he is. Yeah, I'm not saying
false. Those are 2 really easy answers to why you're putting Justin Verlander in the rotation. The simple and logical answer is you're not getting Justin Verlander up and down, not in the game, and then up tomorrow, and then in the game the next. You're not doing that to Justin Verlander. You can do that with Hunter Brown and Arrighetti till the fucking cows come home. You're not doing that with 2-time Tommy John survivor, first ballot Hall of Famer, and absolute fucking stalwart Justin Verlander.
Doesn't Justin Verlander seem like the type that would be like, I know these are my last bullets, so like if it ends in a championship, then just fucking use them?
Well, it would be what I think, and I say that strictly to handle him from the medical side.
Yeah.
What would happen, or what you would want to see happen if that is the case, is JV go in there and give you the free will. Give Joe Espada the freedom to go, Joe, however you got to fire my bullets, bro. However you got to get me in there. All right. If we are better served. I
definitely see Verlander going out on his shield willingly, being like, hey, if this is it, if this is the last year that I'm on a playoff team and it's the Houston Astros and we can get one more, then use me as you see fit. I could definitely see him saying that.
Yes. That's the only thing that would have to happen, though. I think anybody goes into that going, all right, we got to make sure that JV's ready to take the ball on his 5th day. We know we got a pretty good idea of what we're going to get there, and we need to make sure that should he stumble, we've got somebody to be able to plug right in there, as opposed to maybe the other way around. Because do you feel better about what you could get in a starting effort from Justin Verlander and what you might need for external resource-wise from an Arrighetti or a Brown? Or do you feel better about starting Hunter Brown, starting Arrighetti, allowing them to work through whatever hiccups they might encounter? And then do you go to a Justin Verlander? Do you feel better about that? Or is that probably more served for the rest of the bullpen that's been doing that all season? That's the conversation.
Yeah. It depends what you get out of Verlander, because velocity's not what it used to be. He's old as crap. Let's just...
Yeah.
I mean, there's a world where he comes back and it's like he's just not a suitable pitcher. And then that becomes the question of like, you're paying him a ton. It's Justin Verlander. Do you put him on the roster in the playoffs if he ends the season with like a 7 ERA last month of the season?
I think that would become an easier question than some might want to face, which is if you're not viable, we got to pay you the money anyway. But if we have other answers that are probably more suited to get us to where we want to go, then we probably use those to answer the questions we have. But I think you might have to look at this through a similar lens that you might look through with Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
Is Justin Verlander a guy who, if he comes back and is lacking velocity and lacking the finish on his stuff, his arsenal, well, why would you throw that guy into the 7th inning leverage spot? That's not where Clayton Kershaw is getting thrown into the fire. So why would that be the same thing for just, you know what I'm saying? Like if JV is not the guy that can start these games because we're worried about what we're going to get, how in the hell do you run him out there in a high leverage spot out of the bullpen?
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think. It's like we got Verlander and Kershaw right now for the last month and a half of the season are like competing to make the playoff roster. Yeah, or even just make the roster of their own teams for the playoffs. Because it would be a tough question if they're not pitching well. You wouldn't have a lot of faith in them, since they're just, let's just say, over the hill.
Wow. Heavy accusations.
That's ageist, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, man, we saw what happened to Scherz.
That is kind of true, though. That's been happening to him for like, I feel like 6 years. When did he first start getting shelled in the playoffs? That was like going back to like the Dodger trade, right? Who was that, 21?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he got shelled in the World Series or in the playoffs in 2019, but it was injuries.
Well, he was hurt.
Yeah.
He couldn't even like fucking put his t-shirt on and he still
Yeah.
pitched.
Yeah, his wife had to put his shirt on. His neck was banged up.
Yeah. All right. Joe, what's cooking on Baseball Doesn't Exist?
What's the next video? Like, we got video. We got TikToks. Next video is about something pitching related. Something. So take a guess.
Take a guess.
It's
Are
pitching
you
related.
I know like a lot of people rip you off on TikTok, but now that you're making like original content that's for TikTok, are you seeing like, is the monetization from TikTok worth not making an expanded video for YouTube? Like which platform's monetization is better, YouTube or TikTok?
YouTube. Way better than TikTok.
Yeah, I feel like
But,
TikTok is like, you got to get like fucking 25 million views a month to make like 20K or something.
Yeah, it's tougher to get paid on TikTok because they're just shorter videos. But TikTok's pretty cool. It's fun to make TikToks. There's just stuff like you wouldn't want to make a full length video based on Jackson Holiday's one, adjustment he made in the minor leagues that made him better at baseball.
Right, like you made a TikTok on the White Sox fireworks being on like the night that they would have broken the streak for the longest losing record.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like-
would say you could make an entire video on the White Sox 2024 season. Be pretty interesting how bad they are.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm sure you will
like
once it's all said and
Logan
done.
Allen getting smoked in the face, coming back and striking out 3 more hitters. That's not really a whole full video, but it's an interesting TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I like making some TikToks.
I got to see it live in person. It was like seeing John Bonham play the drums at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, we all have our processes.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I got to see you cook live in the kitchen.
I have been told the Bonham. It's an interesting comparison. I've gotten that before.
I'm sure you have.
The creative process.
Yeah, if you could dig up Bonham and put him behind a drum kit, it's fucking Joe right here in his prime. Do you have any final thoughts, Joseph?
Yeah, I got some final thoughts. What I just said about Jackson Holliday, I feel, maybe you guys probably talked about him when I wasn't here, but this guy is hot, man. I mean, he was literally the worst baseball player of all time, statistically speaking, when he came up in the major leagues. And what did they say? What did the Orioles say? They said, we're going to send this kid down. We're going to make some adjustments. He can't hit the fucking fastball, right? He can't hit the fastball. What did he do, Jared? He shortened the leg kick. All right. He
Helps
got
with the
down.
timing.
It helps with this time. He got down and he crouched a little further. All right. Before he went down, he saw 43 fastballs, didn't hit a single one of them fair for a hit. He was 0 for 43 on fastballs. Since he's gotten back, he's slugging .615 against fastballs. So
Get on the heater.
he's on the heater, Dal, and he's crouching.
Get on the heater.
And that leg kick's a little less, and Jackson's showing he can swing it.
It's just amazing to me because you can hear crusty old dudes who are washed up and the game has passed by, and they'll tell you, got to stay on the fastball, man. Got to be ready to hit the fastball. Oh, what the fuck? That's so stupid, simple. The hitting soon. Stay on the fastball, man. Stay on the fastball. Stay on the fastball.
Dallas, you got any final thoughts today?
Yeah, I'm actually going to cherry pick one of the topics that we did not get to as my final thought because it just it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of conversations about the strike zone, automated ball strike system, a lot of manipulation going on in the minor leagues. Well, there's an article out letting us know that umpire accuracy has actually improved every year since StatCast was introduced. And I think just very broadly, if you think about it, getting better, and we're still bitching about robot umpires and automated ball strike systems. Well, if it's getting better, wouldn't that mean that we're just getting closer and closer to robot-like efficiency? So do we eventually get to a point where we get all the calls correct? Probably not. Why? Well, because we're humans. But in the face of clamoring for this automated ball strike zone, the robot umpires, I think there needs to be an acknowledgement of how difficult a task it is to call balls and strikes at the big league level. And then to think that these guys, provided with information that is helping them do their job, are just getting better and better and better at their craft.
Justin Havens?
Huh.
I got some nugs.
Please.
Juan Soto, 2 homers yesterday, is on track to be the 5th left-handed batter ever to produce, since in the live ball era, to produce multiple seasons with at least a 180 OPS plus or higher through his age 25 season. The only others who have done so are Ted Williams and Lou Gehrig from the AL and NL, and Turkey Stearns and Oscar Charleston from the Negro Leagues. Those are the only 4 who have done what Juan Soto is on track to do for a second time. What's that?
Big Turk.
Yeah, Big Turk.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Arrighetti joins Randy Johnson, Garrett Cole, and Christian Javier as the Astros pitchers to strike out 25 or more batters over a 2-start span in the wild card era. Nice company there. Also worth sharing just because I like to remember the Randy Johnson Astros period.
I was just going to say, how many people do you think own a Randy Johnson Astros jersey? That number has to be very small.
How, hate to get on it. We won't make the tangent too long, but like if you're an Astros fan from that era and you got that glimpse of peak Randy Johnson on your team after the trade deadline, and then your team didn't sign him to a contract and then saw him go on to then reel off 4 straight NL Cy Youngs for the D-backs, including a World Series win. Like, I know it's all good in Astros land now, but like Randy Johnson had a 1.28 ERA in 11 starts for the Astros after coming over there in 1998. And then he just left and went to the D-backs in 99. And maybe that was always going to happen, but gosh, what a moment in time those Astros fans got. Mackenzie Gore, on the other hand of pitching, first pitcher in 25 years since Russ Ortiz in 1999, which is so appropriate given this stat line, to allow 5 or more runs, but 0 earned runs, while also issuing at least 6 walks. So Mackenzie Gore had quite the interesting stat line: 5 runs, no earned, and 6 walks on Sunday. Jorge Soler, he was mentioned earlier. That's that 3-game stint he did at Coors, 7 for 13 with 4 homers and 9 RBI. That alone increased his season OPS by 46 points. So good little work there for Jorge Soler. Christopher Sanchez, hate to call out Dallas's boy, but 2.41 ERA through his first 16 starts. He has a 6.63 since the beginning of July, which spans 7 starts. The good news is that his FIP over that 7-start stretch is still just 3.68.
There you go.
So
Bad luck.
So some bad luck in there, perhaps. Byron Buxton had a 633 OPS through the games of June 9th. Since then, his 1.125 OPS is the second best in baseball, behind only Aaron Judge. Pretty impressive for Buxton. And then Corbin Carroll, maybe he's back. He joins Mike Trout, Andrew Jones, Cesar Cedeno, Veda Pinson, and a guy named Mike Tiernan, who played from in the late 1880 to early 1890s. Yeah, Mikey T. As the only players in MLB history with at least 20 triples, 40 homers, 50 doubles, and 75 stolen bases through their age 23 season.
Jay, it was that stretch that earned him the nickname Mike the Terror, if you remember. Mike the Terror.
Oh, that's right. Mike the Terror Tiernan. Back when they had good nicknames, they didn't call him just Tierney or something, right? Or Mikey or something like that. Largest, I started at the top of the podcast, maybe before we were recording, saying how many fun weekend series results there were. Some significant postseason gains and losses per Fangraphs from this time on Thursday when we recorded. D-backs gained 15%. Mariners and Astros each
Red Sox
gained
probably lost 30%.
8%. The Mets, shout out to the Mets, who have the exact same postseason odds that they did before the Seoul series even started back in March. So they are who we thought they were. Shout out to the Mets. They lost 16%. I never had to say they were interesting the whole time. That's such a win for me. Mets 16% loss, and the Red Sox, unfortunately, guys, lost 13.9%. So
that's crazy.
I know
Jay,
that. I know
where
it's,
we at? Where
I
we
know it's
at?
all about Nuttown now. We're doing Nuttown
yeah.
things, but
Jay, if Mets fans had a look on their face, what kind of face would it? What kind of look would that be?
One of the guys who nags me all the time on Twitter, making me say that the Mets are interesting, said that they have a really easy schedule coming up and that number is going to bounce right back up. I think he's going to be very disappointed by how that plays out, but nevertheless, we will see. The Red Sox are at 31% now, Jared.
I mean, I don't hate those odds.
Yeah,
they're not
like
great.
45 before the weekend.
45% before the weekend.
A lot further away from a coin flip today than they were yesterday.
Oh,
yeah, we were like somewhere in there.
Yeah. It's tough what one series will do.
Yeah, there definitely was a point where we were like 51%.
Yeah, we were talking about it right here on this very podcast. Time to buy, time to supplement.
Well, they did.
I mean,
Not
unfortunately,
really.
one of the guys that they supplemented with went down with an injury, but
Yeah, he's done. Luis Garcia sucks. Like that dude, he's giving up a bomb every time he's coming in the game. We gave like 4 prospects for him. He's a rental. Lucas Sims has been okay.
Yeah, he was in the game early yesterday.
Danny Jansen, I don't know if you saw that, highest OPS for any position player bat that changed teams at the deadline. So shout out to Dan Jan.
There you go. Can I do a little promotion for the YouTube channel too coming up later today?
Please. Absolutely.
New video essay dropping about the rise and fall of Chris Bryant and Javier Baez.
Oh, wow.
So the fun part is the fall, as you can probably imagine for me. But
Didn't the pitch that Javi swung at like 3 days ago? Isn't that the pitch furthest away from home plate in the StatCast tracking era?
dude, I think we're gonna need like a super rip of Javier Baez swinging at pitches that are a full foot out of the strike zone when he retires. Like his tribute video should be the good stuff, and then you should have a section of him just like flinging the bat at balls that are like, when we got tired in wiffle ball, basically.
I'm not kidding when I say there have been times where I fully expect a left-hander to pick over and Javi fucking swing the bat. Like he's seen an arm move and a ball come out. He's like, who knows? Maybe. Okay. Nope. I read that wrong. That's fine. Little out.
Little out.
People who are interested can obviously watch the video, but we have so many more years of this still to go with those two. Like this isn't like expiring contracts, brother. This is We got almost 200 million in combined money owed to these two guys still. Not we. I don't know them a dime, but the teams do. Check that out. Jay. That'll drop late this evening, Monday evening.
There you go. You let Rizzo off the hook?
I did. I don't think Rizzo belongs in that conversation for a variety.
No, he's definitely not. I mean, he's offered nothing really this year. I mean, ever since that concussion last year, he's been very much not good.
I mean, yeah, and in fairness, like he was reaching an age where his decline would have been anticipated to some degree, and like because he was obviously older than those guys, but like the whole deal with the Cubs and why they were going to be this sustained factory of winning was because you had these two tentpole guys, and in particular Bryant, who were supposed to be MVP caliber guys in the heart of their careers, just entering their primes. And what ended up happening was that was actually the high water mark, and that both guys ended up getting worse in their late 20s, like kind of mid to late 20s, which is unusual, particularly for a guy like Chris Bryant was off to a Hall of Fame caliber career.
Yeah, and the thing about Chris Bryant is that he looks to be extremely athletic. Like these are not bodies that you would look at and say, I don't know how this will, like Prince Fielder. It's like, all right, yeah, like the dude's mashing baseballs, but the Tigers are going to go out there and give him all this money. And did he sign that deal with the Tigers and then got traded to the Rangers, or he signed it with the Rangers, got traded to the Tigers?
No, you nailed it.
Okay,
no,
got
Tigers
signed by the okay. Because I remember they were showing footage of him hitting batting practice as a little kid at Tiger Stadium. Yeah, and I think it was Tito that was throwing the BP to him in the video. But yeah, like you give a contract like that to someone like Prince Fielder, and you're like, well, I don't know how the body's going to hold up. Or someone like Jose Altuve, where it's like, how's the body going to hold up? With Dustin Pedroia, it didn't hold up, you know? But with Chris Bryant, like you look at this guy, you're like, oh, he's super athletic. Like I feel totally confident in giving this dude a long-term contract. Like he's like Mookie Betts was someone that people were looking at being like, is this body going to break down? And, you know, he doesn't really have the frame for this. And, you know,
dude, Prince Fielder was a what I'll call a very good player, like all-star MVP vote-ish guy, deeper into his career than Chris Bryant was.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just looked that up, and I didn't know that off the top of my head, but I just looked. Like Chris Bryant, like his last legitimately excellent season, truly excellent, was in his age 27 season in 2019. Prince Fielder delivered in his age 28 season a 940 OPS and 151 OPS plus with 30 homers in 162 games played. Also remember that about Prince. Up until the moment he didn't, the guy played every fucking game.
Yeah.
Right up until that moment. And it's like, yeah, so to your point, like Prince Fielder, body type, whatever. That's what makes the Bryant thing. Baez's peak was always going to be less than, just given the way his skill set was constructed. But like that Bryant looked like, you know, like the MVP version of Evan Longoria, right? Like that's kind of what it felt to me at the time, where it's like, oh, this is like the best version of what we thought Evan Longoria might be. And then it was just over at what seemed like it was going to be its peak. I don't know. Sorry, we've done a whole Cubs thing, but like,
that's fine.
I'm excited about the video as I am.
Yeah, it's interesting. It builds up the anticipation for the video. What time is it dropping?
I think we've typically gone around between like 5 and 6 o'clock. So we're making some finishes tonight. I'll defer to Jake on that time, but usually around then, right?
Yeah, it should be 5 or 6.
Okay.
I'm very excited to see it.
Thank you.
That is a topic that speaks to me. That last one was tough. As someone who loves Andrew Benintendi, that last one, that was tough.
He's responded though, to his credit.
Yeah, that's true. He has. He's gone off since then. Yeah,
I think he's done enough to probably put that Jose Guillen, Chris Davis WAR number pretty much out of reach. So that's. Yeah. I think, you know, we were talking about everybody has something to fight for. You know, I think when we were talking White Sox, what do they have left to play for? It's to avoid the worst team of all time distinction. Andrew Benintendi had something left to play for, and that negative 3.3 WAR thing that won't be hanging over him and his family for the rest of his life.
No. Jake's takes.
Shout out Jay Hay getting some love on the Sunday Night Baseball broadcast last night.
Yeah, I saw
Ravi
that.
shouting him out. His great work on Baseball Tonight back in 2004.
Yo, I don't know whether Ravi was kidding or whether he's okay, but that he thinks maybe that I was on the show in 2004 is alarming for both of us.
because
I was squarely in college in 2004.
I was going to say,
yeah.
for sure you're in college.
Yeah, I was
Where
still.
the fuck? I mean, I appreciate when people tweet clips for us. Zach tweeted the clip. It says Sunday Night Baseball with a J. Hay Kid shout out. And the clip is 3 minutes long. Where the fuck is the clip?
Yeah, it's right at the beginning. I kept listening because I thought, oh, maybe I missed a secondary conversation, but it's within the first 25 seconds or something.
That's a base hit. Ichiro scores. Base hit. The ball game is tied up. Boone has delivered. And he has walked in the winning run.
Mariners won that one 5-4. That was 2004, the last time Sunday Night Baseball was here. You heard the great John Miller on the call with our really good friend Joe Morgan as well. Last time Sunday Night Baseball did a Mariners home game, Justin Havens, who of course was working for us on Baseball Tonight, Ichiro led off. Edgar was a pinch hitter. Moyer and Loaiza started that game. The big hurt, Olerud with a 3-hitters, and Bob Melvin was in his second season.
Well, that was my tweet. He was just reading my tweet at that point, which is why he shouted me out. I'm going to give Ravi the benefit of the doubt and say that it's just a poorly worded thing. Justin Havens, who was working on Baseball Tonight, thought.
Period.
And then in 2004, separate thought. Because that's like, I was talking to my wife about it this morning. That's like that's a half decade before I'd even met Ravi. So I know they all bleed together for a guy who's a legend in the game and, been doing Baseball Tonight for damn near 30 years, or maybe it is 30 years now. But yeah, no, that was fun. It's always fun to get some love, especially from a recent guest. That was fun.
It's true. You're at the front of his mind. Love that for you. All right, we will be back on Wednesday for some more Baseball is Dead. Joseph, thank you. It's always good seeing your face every Monday. Hot Seat Wednesday, very special guest lined up. Should we announce?
Mm-hmm.
It's Chris Rose.
What the fuck?
Rosie.
You're going to want to tune in.
Chris Rose joins us on Wednesday for Hot Seat Wednesdays, and of course, Family Feud on Thursday. So thank you for watching. Be on the lookout for Jay Hayes' video essay about the Cubs who fell off. I'll be excited for that one, and we will see you then.
Wow.